I'd like to take a minute now and welcome in our next guest, who's a regular partner here with the Institute, and we appreciate his organization's involvement. And joining us is Rod Reasen, the CEO of Springbuck and Healthiest Employers. Rod, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey, nice to have you on here. How is it in Indianapolis today?
Beautiful day in Indianapolis. Wonderful. It's not raining anymore, so we're excited.
We could use some of that down here. We get these big thunderstorms. They last 10 minutes and it all goes away. So these are the dog days in Atlanta, Georgia. Rod, you just completed a very interesting survey on wearables, and I'd like to have you talk a little bit about the survey and what you guys are doing at Springbuck and Healthiest Employers.
That's great. Yeah, the survey. I don't know if you want to go into the depth of it. I know we're gonna go through some questions here, but wearables are obviously hot. Employers are trying to figure out how do they bring in the idea of wearables to the workplace. How do they integrate that with their wellness programs? Does it make sense? Should they make the investment? So those are the things that we tried to cover in this paper.
Yeah. Now, Rod, when you look at the paper that you did, what are some of the key trends in the wearables that you see within these worksite wellness programs that employers are putting in place?
Well, I think the biggest one was a lot of employers, 60+%, are considering purchasing a wearable. The difficulty or our frustration, I guess, with those purchases is that only 7% of employers have any way of looking at using the data beyond just for participation. As an analytics company, that's disturbing when you make a huge purchase and you have no way of even using that data or have no strategic path to being able to integrate that data for real good use.
So along those lines, so what's the first thing that let's say an employer should look at when looking to put in this type of strategy with the wearables and their wellness programs?
What we did when we think about wearables are very much consumer facing. Many, I'm sure, on the program today have a wearable. We brought in 24 different devices, and we wanted to take a look at what should employers think about when they think about a purchase of a wearable. So in the article, we talk about some of the feature set, which are very much consumer-facing, but then we created a top 10 checklist for employers to think about what should they think about. So like items like sustainability, robustness, adoption, livability. So having a big clunky device for a small petite female versus a small device for a big burly guy, lots of things to think about from the employer perspective.
Hey, are a lot of these wearables companies, they are building these employer dashboards, correct? They really can help the employer kind of better measure the data and even integrate other wearables into these dashboards. Did you guys talk about that in your survey? And
we do talk about measurement, connectivity, but if you think about it, the wearable device itself is only going to have data, and that device company is only going to have data that the device itself puts out. So where there is a huge opportunity in the marketplace is this intersection of various silos of data, from wearables to medical claims, pharmacy, additional biometric data, health risk assessment information, and the list goes on. And so wearables are just a new piece now that employers have access to, that you can move beyond just saying, did this person make their 10,000-step goal or participatory approach, and really looking at how does this person that has diabetes, are they moving or are they not? So the intersection of all of that data, the wearable companies aren't able to do all of that, but they are certainly able to display activities, competitions, even create challenges within the population from those different applications.
Is there a challenge that employers have with the fact that let's say I'm about to execute a wearables strategy as part of our worksite wellness program, but X% of my employee population already owns a wearables device, and you're going to go buy brand X, but they're wearing brand Y. How do they solve that problem? Or did you guys touch on that at all?
We do. That's one of the big questions that employers are really trying to sift through today. 5 years ago, you may have pulled out a pedometer from your insurance carrier. Today, there are really strong, good, durable devices. I'll just mention all the names so I'm not leaving anyone out, but we looked at devices from Fitbit, Garmin, Jawbone, Polar, Withings, and even the Samsung smartwatch to get an idea of what is the compatibility of devices out there. Most of the software systems, pick on Fitbit, will have a wide range of product, which is nice in an offering, but they're only going to integrate today, at least, their device data. We do see that, Doug, that's actually moving. Those device manufacturers are trying to figure out how do they think about that very question that you just asked from the employer perspective.
Now, is the answer some of these, leading current digital health platforms that are out there, partnering with the wearables companies to really provide that integration and better data analytics to the employer?
Well, we believe that's one of our roles in the space, certainly, is the onset of Springbuck Health Analytics is to be able to pull in the various device data specifically through the APIs. One of the neat things about the device space is that because it's a relatively new industry, technologically, they're far more advanced than many of the older players in the space, like the insurance carriers. So integration of data can happen in literally minutes versus integration of claims data that may take months. So it's really fascinating to see how fast this type of technology is being deployed among employers because it can be up and running in really days.
Yeah, I'd say, Rod, just from a personal experience, we have a current, program that we're partnering with Withings among our, employee population here and reaching out to other groups through challenges that embrace. And, I'll speak to you personally as a baby boomer, so I'm at that top end. It works. I mean, if we can get the data to the employers, I mean, to me, it has made me really accountable. And to my audience out there, not that I thought I was that big, but I've lost 24 pounds since I've been on this program, and it makes me accountable every single day. Every single day. It's where am I as competing with my team? Where I am as competing with myself? How's it benchmark? What I'm doing. So it works. I mean, these are great tools, I think, for consumers. The employees out there.
Congratulations on the weight loss there. We saw that. I mean, we're obviously a health fitness type company. We're very cognizant of tracking our own information because we're into the data. But we saw that even in our own office, where when we were testing these devices, at one point I had 3 or 4 on my hip or on my wrist at one point, and we'd go walk around the parking lot and track our steps and see the differences between the devices. But there are those that are on the purist fitness folks that will say, well, steps don't mean anything. And that may be true. I don't want to get into that on this call for today, but if it engages an individual to be cognizant that sitting is bad, I need to get off my keister and move, then fantastic. And you're proof in that with 24 pounds of lost weight.
Yeah, Rod, so this is Brent. When you look at the data specifically, what does an employer need to know about the data, and how do they then turn around and manage that employee's population or their employee population health and wellness?
So be careful to not get too deep into the trenches here, but let's just assume here for a second you just have step data on an employee population. Correlating that data with medical claims data allows us to be able to have a visual of, is there a predictive nature among my population towards illness or higher risk in health because of sedentary lifestyle. The whole idea of wellness today versus treatment in healthcare is to prevent disease, to acknowledge that a path of sugary sodas and fast food will lead to chronic conditions, obesity, and ongoing. So the wellness space can only track information that they have access to, like biometric and health risk assessments. So it's important that an employer understand that there's a stepping stone here where wearables give you an immediate daily information on that employee population, and it can tell you if you're going to lead towards a chronic condition type population or towards a healthier population.
So when you look at these wearables, you talk about the wellness program and how it connects there. Are there other tools out there that employers can use to further connect the dots with let's say the device and then the wellness program? Are there other tools out there that they can use as well?
Well, many of the wellness vendor platforms are already integrating some form of device data, whether it be their own device or one of the major manufacturers. So there is good movement that's happening among the wellness space. There is article after article that we're reading today about how insurance carriers are now trying to figure out the usability of wearable data to potentially look at driving, chronic condition management, disease management, even putting a device on certain folks with high-risk factors to be able to engage and track their activities. So this paper was really designed around giving employers the big idea, what should you be thinking about, and it came out of a frustration I had early on in this year. In fact, around in January, I was talking to an employer about data and analytics, and we got into the wearable discussion, and they said, oh, well, we just bought $400,000 worth of devices for our employees. And I said, fantastic. So how many of them are using the devices? And I got this blank stare, and she said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, what are you doing with the data? She says, what data? So that for the wellness space, that's alarming because that's a $400,000 spend that just went basically out the window, that they have no tracking on, no strategy behind. And so that led us down this path of, well, let's understand what an employer should be thinking about, help them spell out a strategy, create a criteria, and that's what's in the paper.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Rod. And great job on this paper. Tell our audience, as we close here, tell our audience how they can find this paper should they want to access this survey, please.
It's simple. Go to www.springbuk.com, and it's available to download for free.
Yeah, and give two or three what do you want our audience to take away from this conversation? Wrap it up and give a couple takeaways that you want to take away from here.
Well, big data is not going away. So you have, as an employer, you own a tremendous amount of data, and you have a problem getting access to it. With tools like Springbuk, you can get access to all of your data, and you need to be using that as you think about the future of healthcare. No matter what happens with the financial piece of healthcare, the health of an employee will always matter to an employer. Higher productivity, ultimately lower insurance costs, but productivity is the big deal that we're kind of moving towards here in the future.
Well, Rod, listen, I appreciate it as always. It's nice talking with you. We look forward to having you on again in the near future. Enjoy your weekend up there in Indianapolis.
All right. Hey, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Take care, Rod.
Take care.